Hey, what's up guys? Sloth King here. Today we're going to be working on my 4th gen Toyota 4Runner and we are going to be replacing the front sway bar bushings. If you hear any clunking, like slight clunking if you're going over like a speed bump or any kind of like hard turn, like if your driveway like scoops up a little bit and you feel just a little bit of a clunk like kind of in your steering wheel, you likely have some worn out sway bar bushings. Now, these are actually pretty easy to replace and they take about, I don't know, probably 15-20 minutes to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack up the front of the 4Runner and then we can go ahead and start taking off the skid plate if you still have that on there. So let me go ahead and get that up on some jack stands and I will be back. All right, so now that the 4Runner is safely on some jack stands, let's get under here. If you still have your factory skid plate on, you're gonna have 2 bolts up front, interesting. I did have 2 bolts up here. Alrighty, so you're gonna have 2 bolts up here, and then you're gonna have 2 bolts, one here and right here, and then this will just pivot down, and then you can take it off. And then we can access our sway bar. So I had to replace these bolts with some aftermarket ones because the stock ones were pretty rusty when I got them. So they should be 12 millimeter, but I believe mine are 13 since they're not factory bolts. All right, now this should just swing right down like so. And then you just lift it off here. I'm sure you guys know the ones that had to take this off before, or maybe you guys just run your 4Runner without it because the factory one usually gets pretty beat up and rusty. So now we can go ahead and move on to the sway bar bushings. So we don't have to take off our sway bar end links. Our bushing mounts are going to be right here, one here, and then one on this side. They are 2 14 millimeter bolts on each side. We can go ahead and just take them both off, and then we'll be able to access our bushing. But these are original bushings, and they're about 20 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and replace them. All right, let's go ahead and tackle this one. You should be able to see that. There's one. Wow, that definitely had some rust accumulating on it. All right, let's go ahead and get this side. All right, now that will swing right down. It's just going to rest on our tie rods. We can go ahead and just remove the mount right here. And then this will just separate, just like so. And then do the same thing on this side. Boom. So now that the old bushings are off, these are actually pretty worn on the inside. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like super worn out. So this will definitely solve the clunking. So I decided to pick up some of these Moog bushings. They were actually on sale by a lot. So normally I would just get like the Toyota bushings, but I got these for a few bucks. So let's go ahead and open these up. Now, since these are still rubber, we can go ahead and just pop them back on and then install everything. If you're replacing it with some poly bushings, usually the kit gives you some silicone to put inside of here to get rid of any squeaking and stuff like that. So make sure you guys have some silicone on hand if you are doing the poly bushings. So let's go ahead and throw these on. And it's as easy as just opening this up, popping it on, and then doing the same thing for the other side. There we go. And then remember, whenever you're installing your bracket, that the cutout faces towards the front of the vehicle. Like so. And then since my bolts were pretty rusty, you could really hear that the impact was taking its sweet time to take these things out. I'm going to just take a wire brush to the threads and apply a little bit of anti-seize, and then we can go ahead and put it in. Okay, so the reason why this has a cutout is because you can start one bolt and on each side, and this will act as a resting point, so you don't have to strain yourself holding the sway bar up as you're tightening the bolt down. So go ahead and install a bolt on the first front hole on each side, as you can see right there like I did. Now we can go ahead and lift the sway bar up and get this into place. It'll still be a little tricky, but at least once we get this on, the bolt will be resting. I'm taking the load off for us. And actually I have to move the camera. All right, here we go. See, just like that, it is holding itself up. So now we can put the rear bolt on, tighten both down, and then these get torqued to 30 foot-pounds. All right, they are snugged, so now we can torque them down. Yeah, and it looked like I was just sitting there just hammering them down, but I really did not. They're just still a bit rusty. See, as you can see, I'm still spinning my torque wrench, so I didn't just hammer them down. All right, 30 foot-pounds. 30 foot-pounds, and then I'm gonna do the other side as well. All right, all torqued down. Now we can go ahead and install our skid plate, and we are done. All right, guys, I'm fully done. It took me about 20 minutes to do from start to finish, and it wasn't too bad of a job. I did replace those 2 missing bolts from my skid plate, so now that's on nice and securely. Hopefully this video helped you guys out trying to solve a weird clunking issue whenever you're taking a turn, going over a bump, going over a speed bump. I know this was an issue in 2nd gen Tacomas and the 4Runners, so make sure you check your bushings, even if there's like not a lot of like play in it. If they're like 20 years old, like pretty much almost mine is, it's more than likely your sway bar bushings that are just old and worn. But anyways, if you guys want to support the channel, you can pick up one of these t-shirts. I have, this is the OG SKG logo. I actually picked up a military green because it looks cool. I have 2 other variants as well. One of them, it's a metal design. So if you guys like death metal or any kind of metal, pick that up as well. I'll have my link to my shop in the description below for you guys to check that out. Everything that I use today, I will have in the link in the description below. And like always, I'll catch you guys on the next ride.